Okay, so this is going to be quite different from what I am used to in this channel. Like, if it's your first time here, by the way, welcome. This is not the type of video I was doing so far. I was like trying and making some more edited stuff with scripts and such, and this is like the first time I'm talking off the top of my head, which means you might listen to a lot of grammatical mistakes along the way. If you do, I'm so sorry. I'll do my best to check them and try to correct them in the subtitles, but if I don't, just know that I'm not American, so that's what happened. But yeah, this is the first time that I'm actually talking off the top of my head in this channel, because I wanted to switch things around. I've been trying to reinvent myself for quite some time now. If by any chance you know me for more than a couple of months, you know that I switch projects a lot. And throughout my life, I've been trying to tackle different things. Not just in drawing, not just in visual arts specifically. I really love to play around with different styles and different medium. So like I've done some compositions in the past. I've tried to mess around with clothing, actually, with fashion, but the art form that I get back to every single time is drawing. So like this is really the gist for me. Like I really love drawing. It's my thing, and it's what I'm going to focus on. And this is why I've decided to reinvent this channel in a sort of way. Because when I created this, I wanted this to be channel for me to experiment things. And I started talking about popular stuff. I was doing some videos on franchises that I like I did a video on FNAF. The first video that I posted was actually me drawing Smash Ultimate characters. I did a video back then on Bluey. I love watching Bluey, great show. And with time, I switched up things, right? I spent some time doing some training mode sessions. I would just write a script and talk with very little editing, and it was more towards like not towards the fan base of the popular franchises that I liked, but more to artists specifically. And then I tried to switch it up again, and different projects on this channel alone came, and like with time all of them died. I was not 100% sure of exactly what I wanted to do with it, and I'm still not 100% sure, but I like to, I like the idea of being free to do whatever I want with my art, and to experiment, and to try and see things, and try out new things. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and if it does, great. Just keep up with it, and if you have fun with it, nice, that's even better. That's why you're here in the first place, right? That's why you do art. And I was actually having fun with my recent videos, both the very last one, which was the most edited one so far, but also the shortest one, and the previous ones, which were more about art essays, very like short art essays, 10 minute art essays. But I was spending too much time editing and writing the script and revising the script. And writing is also great. It's another art form that I really like. And editing is also great, which I also consider an art form. But it was taking too much time from my main thing, which is drawing. Like those 8 to 10 hours that I could spend on making a whole video on a specific topic, because writing does take a lot of time, revising does take a lot of time. I could have spent this whole time practicing and practicing drawing, and just drawing my recent projects and stuff, which is the thing that I'm most passionate about. So the YouTube channel was actually taking time that I could have spent on other things. So like this idea of reinventing yourself, I think it's something that comes to you when you perceive, when you notice that things are not really working the way it is right now, even if you're having fun. even if it's positive, even if it's good and it has a good influence on people. Like, I was doing great with the tarot cards project and keeping YouTube as a secondary project, but I think that switching things around again could actually make more of a positive impact, not just on you, the viewer, but also on me. So without a script and without a very heavy production and a more detailed and more skilled editing, I could actually make this YouTube channel a more raw experience, like just me talking to you. Well, in this case, I'm just talking to a white wall. You're probably seeing me drawing, practicing some Asara planes right now, but I'm just talking to a wall. But really, I'm talking to you in a very raw way, very directly. And as much as scripting and writing a script and revising it is something positive and it's cool and it helps the viewer to have a more clear understanding of what the YouTuber is trying to say, I think having these raw conversations is also great, because it makes the viewer and the creator closer in a way. It feels more real in a way, and I think this is very positive. I think it has potential to exist as a weekly thing. Like with editing and scripting, I was trying to make it weekly, but I was failing every single time. I was delaying stuff. Sometimes it would take me like 3 weeks to get a video done, and it's not like the repercussion really bothered me or anything, but it was not consistent enough for me to make it a habit, and not consistent enough to the viewers to become acquainted with it. So I think me doing this kind of video once or twice a week can be actually positive. So like, reinventing yourself is something that must happen if you feel like you're being slowed down by an idea in your head. So like, I had this grandiose idea in my head that I, by myself, even though I'm a master's student and this is my main focus, even though I side hustle as an illustrator, even though I have this new drawing project that I work on every single day, and I have my daily commuting and stuff, like, even though all of this is happening, I had this grandiose idea that I could keep up with a YouTube channel with this great editing and scripting and stuff weekly. I can't. I just can't. I don't know what to tell you. I was wrong. I was totally wrong. I underestimated how much effort and work you have to put on to maintain a YouTube channel and to try to grow a community and an audience. But yeah, it happened. I noticed there was something wrong with it, and now I'm fixing it. This is me trying to fix it. So this almost 10 minutes, I think. Damn it. Is it almost 10 minutes? It was just for me to introduce you all this new idea that I'm going with and why I'm switching things up again, and hopefully for like the last time. At least for now. At least for now, I hope that this is what the channel will be about. Me talking about stuff that I think are interesting or important for artists, not just illustrators, but all types of artists. And I hope it's cool and you enjoy it all. So yeah, this is me reinventing myself. Let's make it clear. And the purpose for this is for me to be more consistent and to be more clear about my objectives and to, be able to trust myself again. Because as an artist, it's so difficult to try and keep up with a schedule, to try and really trust in yourself, believe that you are going to follow through your own vision and your own schedule. Because making doing art is unlike any other thing out there. Because let's say you want to practice, I don't know, a new hobby, chess or poker, I don't know. I just came up with examples that are my hobbies. But anyways, let's say you want to practice chess. You can do like, I'm going to play a 15-minute chess game every day. or I'm going to learn about openings every day for a week and then I'm going to play for a week again. Or, oh, I'm interested in poker, I'm going to host a poker night every weekend with this set of friends. You can make that a habit, you can make that a schedule, and there's just a few things that can go out of control. Like, what can go out of control if you want to practice chess? You have chess.com, it's a great site. You don't even need a chessboard for that. Poker nights, your friends can fluke, like maybe this weekend they can't come by, but you always have other friends. You can play poker online, you can watch videos about poker and stuff. But making art is so dependent on so many things in your personal life that it becomes extremely difficult to make it a habit. Like, okay, I'm going to practice drawing every day. This is possible, and this is arguably the easiest way to make art something daily, right? I'm going to train, I'm going to practice drawing heads tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, like for a week, for 2 weeks, and then the next 2 weeks I'm going to practice, I don't know, perspective drawing, whatever. But when it comes to make finished products, it's difficult to keep up with it, because let's say you want to make a full piece, a full artwork every 4 days, every 5 days. Sometimes the inspiration just doesn't freaking come. Like, sometimes you're just staring at a wall and you don't know how to proceed with something. We fluctuate too hard on different spectrums of things, right? Sometimes our energy is very low and we feel less patient to work on specific details that we would feel great another day. Like, creative acts are more difficult to become good habits, I believe, if compared to things that are more mechanical and more practical in a way. So at the moment, for instance, I am working on a personal project called Tarot Plus. By the way, check me out on social media. I'm drawing and trying to draw a tarot card a day, and if everything goes right, by the end of October I will probably have all the cards in my hands. And this is a project tied to a lot of things that I really love, like the tarot aesthetics are something that I am passionate about for quite some time now. I'm more of a esoteric guy, even though I don't even do too many tarot readings. Those are very far and few in between. I really love the idea of the esoteric and the magical and stuff. Like, these subjects, they attract me. So in a way, it's easier for me to make a tarot card a day, even more considering that I have the original Rider-Waite cards as a reference, right? Sometimes you're doing something that is fairly new and you have way less reference to work with. But even though I am so interested about this, even though I think about this so much and this is so integrated in my life, and even though I have the original references to work with, and like, except the new suits that I'm working on, but whatever, like, those exceptions aside, even though I have all this aid to help me, even though I have all these things that help me and make this more possible for a daily thing, I still struggle. Sometimes I just stare at the white canvas and I'm like, okay, I know what to do, I know what I want to do, I just don't know how I'm gonna go about it. Like, what can I do here? What can I do to make this good? To make this a finished product? To make this creative and beautiful? And some days I just push through and it hurts my art. So trying to make things consistent is difficult, right? It is very difficult. It's not just about time constraints. Those happen to anything and to everyone. But to art specifically, it's more about your emotional constraints too, right? Art blocks are difficult to deal with. Regular schedules are already hard, but if you have a specific project in mind and you can't find your way through a specific element of your artwork, it can damage not just that artwork, but your whole mindset about it. There's some tarot cards that I have drawn so far that I'm not even as happy with them as I am with the whole project, but I try to ignore it and release them to the world, even though I know they are not perfect, that I could probably redraw them another day. First and foremost, because I want to be more consistent with it and make it something more, reliable for myself, because I do want to transform this in my main form of income. So this has to be something with, it has to be something consistent. I can't change this, right? I would love to change this. I would love to, I want to work whenever I feel very creative, but I can't choose that. If you are working as an artist, you have to push yourself even though you don't feel as creative sometimes. But beyond that, I wanted to make something despite the idea of perfection just, spinning around me the whole day, every single day. Because this is something that can really delay progress. And perfectionism sometimes sounds good. There's a lot of people who are advocates for this thing, this idea of being a perfectionist as something positive, that you should just tame the perfectionism, that it is actually good, but you have to know how to use it. I don't buy this. I don't know. That's my perspective on it. Maybe you think that perfectionism can be good. I don't think so. I think it's pretty much always a wrong thing, because it pushes you back to your previous state of mind. Like, you are drawing something, or you are producing a song, you are doing whatever you do, right? Practicing a new dance, and then in the middle of the act, sometimes you're working on something and you're happy with it, you're lost in that feeling, you are maybe even in flow, and boom, it clicks. This is not perfect. But that's the thing, beforehand. Everybody knows, we all know, it will never be perfect. We cannot harness this concept of perfection and work with it. Nobody can. There's no such thing as perfection. There's things that have been crystallized in our culture, in pop media and stuff, that feel like they're perfect, but I can guarantee that the artists who worked on the specific piece that we just love so much, like those artists, they were not 100% happy with their products. They knew it was not perfect. They have passed through this feeling of, damn, I know this can be improved. Let me work on this just one more time, just 1 minute more, right? And this kills consistency. And killing consistency, you also kill the interest of others in what you have to say, in what you have to show to them, to illustrate, to produce. You have to show something. And you cannot do that if you don't have a resume, right? If you don't have enough artwork, if you don't have enough to show them how much you're capable, and you are, you won't be able to capture their attention enough to make them interested in you, right? You have to make them interested in you before you can preoccupy yourself with all these ideas of perfection and stuff. This has to come last. This has to come after you send this artwork to the world, because I think you can probably never extinguish this feeling. I think very few artists can extinguish completely this feeling of perfection, of trying to be perfect. But you can constrain it to after you have released that thing to the world, right? So both me reinventing this channel and trying out new things, and me working on this new personal project, the Tarot Plus project, those are just reminders for me to not think too much about perfection and how I want to make this even better for everybody who's gonna consume it. I have to make it work first. If I try too hard to make it perfect, it will never be done. And if it cannot be done, it cannot exist to other people. It has to exist to the audience first, and then it can be rated. If it cannot be rated, it can't be anything. But when you release something, when you have a finished product, you can say, okay, this has value. And maybe someone is going to consider it perfect. I don't know. It happens sometimes. Sometimes there's people who just fall in love with your artwork and they legit think it's perfect. Like, this is not an excuse for me or to anyone to release shit. Like, it's not about releasing things that you are not happy with, but this is specifically for people who think they are never ready, and sometimes we are really not, and sometimes we really are not ready, right? But nobody is really. Maybe at some point we become really confident, but there's just so few people who are really confident, like who has confidence as a main trait, who think they can be on the top of the world tomorrow if they wanted to. There's very few people who can actually feel that and maintain this feeling. For most of us, we have to overcome it. We have to overcome the feeling of not being good enough and trying to be perfect and trying to switch things up and to try to conform to boxes. We don't have to do any of this, right? It's fine. I do agree with the concept, with the idea that the artist comes first, the audience comes later. Like, you have to make your art first and foremost for you and then for others. I totally agree with that. But if you make it with this idea of perfection in your mind, you will never be consistent. You will never be able to learn from mistakes, right? Because trying to make it perfect will just make you run through and over all the things that you would have time to think about. Like, if I release an art today and I look at it 2 months from now, I'm gonna see some mistakes that I did. But if I try to take this one piece and harness it and work on it every single day until it was perfect, I would not even remember the mistakes that I committed in the past, right? I would not even look at it, and they would not exist in my head because I would have this idea of perfection in it. Sometimes it's just not worth it, right? Mainly for digital artists who most of the time depend, not, well, sometimes solely, but mostly on social media and on like stream platforms and stuff, right? For those who want to be 100% independent on their art and stuff. Like, if you work for a company as an animator or as an illustrator, that changes a lot. Of course, you are working for that. That's a job. You're being paid to work on a project that's not yours. But for those who want to make something theirs, it's very difficult for digital artists to just have this freedom from the internet, right? We are tied to the internet in a way. And if you want to be tied to the internet, if you want to make it yours, your project, your stuff, your art, if you want to have control over the process, over the plot, over the style, over the ideas, the concepts, you will have to be consistent. It will demand from you a lot of mental work, right? To not give in to these feelings of I'm not good enough. These feelings of it's not perfect yet. These feelings of I have to follow this one idea that I had in my mind before I even knew this ground that I was stepping into, right? Like me with this YouTube channel, like if I try to keep that original idea of making weekly, heavily edited and scripted videos, I would probably burn out myself. By the way, if you're like hearing some noises, it's just my household. People are kind of noisy here. Anyways, if I decided to keep up with this original idea, I would not have time to breathe and to realign myself with what I really wanted to do, which was being a voice to connect with people and to be relatable and a reliable source of inspiration. Like this format of videos, this new way of making YouTube videos is probably way more efficient and fulfilling in everything that I wanted to do than my previous methods, than my previous takes on YouTube videos, right? Probably. We're gonna find out this in some weeks. but chances are this is going to be way more effective on everything that I wanted to do, and I'm going to feel way happier with it, because again, I will be able to redirect so much more time to what really matters and to what really makes this worth it. So this is not as fancy as it was before. And really, if you reached this far in the video, which is pretty much a podcast, not in a podcast or platform or streaming services or whatever, but it is just me drawing Asara planes in the background and talking off the top of my head about art and stuff and creativeness and scheduling and perfectionism. Like this all, if you reach this far, just listen to me, I can't even explain how happy I feel, because I know that if it happened, it means that I made a positive change in the art community. Even if I reached just one person, someone was interested in what I had to say. And this is the whole idea. From the beginning, this was the whole idea. So if you have reached this far, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really want to be able to keep up and to start and keep up with a community of artists. I want you guys to reach out to me, follow me on social media, let's follow each other back, let's talk there, whatever, right? Eventually we can try and expand this thing and make more people aware of important topics about art, not just consuming stuff, but actually talking about how we produce this stuff, about how we create stuff, right? Things of the process that we tackle way less than we should, I think. This talk about perfectionism, I didn't even scratch the surface. There's so much more that goes into it. Same thing for scheduling. And there's so much to talk about just in the life of artists, just in that. There's so much we could talk about that we have way less time to do, or way less interest than we should have. And I think this channel can be a possibility to talk about these things. So this is what I'm gonna try to do now. This was really just an introductory thing, but again, if you reach this far, thank you so much. And feel free to write in the comments your ideas on any of these topics that I quoted. I know this was way less organized than it should. I'm new at this. I'm still figuring out how to do this, but hopefully it was a positive thing for you, and hopefully you could enjoy this. So yeah, share your thoughts with me in the comments and follow me on social media. I'm trying to finish this Tarot Plus project, and if you like it, if you think it's beautiful, hey, help your homie out. Share my things and subscribe to me, whatever. Or if you want. If you don't want, don't do it. Anyway, you got it. Without further ado, thank you so much, and I'll see you around. Peace.